where the trains will stack while they're waiting to be unloaded. And then we have our 2 loading stations on the side as well. Alright? So altogether we have 10 blocks alive. Right? So, for example, if there was a train at block break right now, another train wouldn't launch in launch 2. It would just stop here in launch 2. Alright? Yeah, so does anyone want to take a guess as to how our trains are launched? LSMs? Do you know what it uses to get the train to go?
I don't remember reading about this, but I forgot.
Magnets?
Yeah,
Magnetic power?
magnets. So these right here, these are called stators. So the whole system is called the linear synchronous motor. All right. But the stators here are these white fins that you see. So we have 64 stators here in launch 2. Each one will receive 480 volts of electricity. All right. So the train it takes a lot of electricity to get this train up this tower. So 22 of these stators are liquid cooled, meaning that there's going to be a liner on the inside that'll deliver a liquid. It's called glycol. And what that does is it keeps the stators at a normal temperature so that it doesn't overheat. Now, if a ride was to overheat, what would happen is the ride will shut itself off and the trains are going to stop wherever they're at. All right? And the only way that we can get the guest off is with an escort, so we'll have to go get the guest off. And we have to wait for the ride to cool down. The only way to let the ride cool down is to let it sit. There's nothing that we can do to make the train, the stators, cool down any faster.
Is that what the sound is like? Like, is it, there's that weird sound whenever?
That's
No, that's
That.
yeah.
What is?
yeah. I feel like I don't hear that on a lot of other
You're
voices.
talking about that
It's
noise?
unique to this one.
It's the older ones. Yeah.
That noise is air.
That's air.
Yeah. You're talking about
But it's weird. Tigris is like a whistle type of. It just. I don't know why they.
So
Well-
it's different because Tigris is premier and this is intimate, so they're kind of separate. But the actual noise itself is the coils inside that are vibrating.
Oh, okay.
That's what that noise is.
Yeah, but now.
So you don't actually hear the liquid itself.
But some of the like older, so the older instruments that sound like that, like like the original, like Maverick and this one. But then as you get to newer ones, they sound a lot more different.
Yeah, they sound quieter. They use
Yeah.
They kind of like they advance the stator, the systems as they learn. So the nearest sister to this run is gonna be Maverick. They're the same type of coaster. The other ones are gonna be newer models, so they're different.
Yeah.
So these black boxes that you see right here, those are called proximity switches. And what they do is they detect metal on the train to determine the train's speed and the train's location on the track. So if that proximity switch detects something different than the one next to it, it's going to shut the entire ride down. It's just an extra safety precaution to make sure everything is running normally. Maintenance can come and reset it. If they can't reset it, then we'll have to do an escort. And they'll have to replace that proximity sensor. Now sometimes, if a proximity switch goes bad, we get what's called a ghost train, which is where the computer will detect the train in a block, but there's not actually a train there. And those are always automatic escorts as well. You guys have any questions so far?
Do you guys get rollback super often here?
Not super often, but it does happen. We had 2 last week. One day and one the next day, and it was just usually the first train out of the day because it was cold outside, and we started the dual station. So the second one would always end up rolling backwards.
What is your most expensive roller coaster ride here that costs the most to run every time?
This one.
This one?
makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Launch coasters are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the most technical. This is the most electrical ride in the park. Even over Coaster has lots of systems. So you have the ride system, block system, safety system, the launch system, and the cooling system. So all of those systems have to be, maintained, and each one requires electricity. So the cables that you see that are running through the launches here, we have over 3,000 feet of that cable for all of our launches, and 1 foot of that cable weighs 3.8 pounds. So if we were to take all of the cable and put it into one pile, that pile would weigh over 25,000 pounds of just LSM cable. So these are transformers for the ride. We have 1 for launch 1, 1 for launch 2, and 1 for launch 3. The 1 for launch 3 is out by Serengeti Flyer, which is our swing ride. So obviously the trains take a lot of electricity just to launch. So if we were to use a normal city power, it'd probably knock the power out every single time we try to launch a train. because that's taking 480 volts at one time. All right, so the launches are going to take power from these launches, from these transformers here. All right. All right. The power bill to run this ride for 1 week is equivalent to leaving all the lights on in your house for 2 years.
Wow.
All right, so it's very, very costly. All right, so what you just saw here, these are called our actuating or the pivoting brakes. All right. So all of our launches and our waiting for block has these brake fins, and they're mainly in spots where the train's going to be going at a high rate of speed. So these here, they're on air cylinders. So a lot of people think they're on hydraulics, but hydraulics, majority of the time, are going to require electricity to move up and down. Now, let's say we have a power outage, right? And the train's mid-launch. Well, now there's going to be nothing here to slow the train down because it's going to be stuck in a down position. So it's on air cylinders, so that if it was to lose power, all that happens is when the power is cut from these air cylinders, is the air just leaves the cylinder, and those giant springs that you see right there, those are what's bringing that brake fin back up. All right.
So is the brake fin like magnetic? Like how does that?
Yeah. So the brake it's a metal that'll attract the magnets on the train and slow it down. So the brake fin's never really coming into contact with the train itself.
Not a friction. Yeah. Cool.
So just like the LSMs, they're going to repel the magnet. These are going to attract the magnet. So these are here for, these are the rollback brakes, right? So the train was to roll back. These brakes are going to slow it down so that it's not going backwards at a high rate of speed. Right? So they're about to set another one, so we can actually see it up close here in a second. So it's going to leave launch 1. Once it clears launch 1, those brake fins are going to come up, and these are going to come down. So all of these brake fins, they're on a little timer. They have a sensor that is in the up position and a sensor when it's in the down position. And if it doesn't flag that sensor in a certain amount of time that it's programmed to, it'll shut the entire ride down. It's just an extra safety precaution because I think maybe something's wrong with the brake or something like that, all right? So.
Yeah, I never saw it. I think you've seen the pins before.
Alright, so it's called the wind catcher. We call it the figure 8. So it's 102 feet tall. This ride was the only ride that used it. It's uniquely designed for this park. Until another park in China copied the ride, whatever. But it's still unique to the U.S. But the drop itself is 130 feet tall because it goes underground. The drop itself is actually 2 feet taller than Montu's drop. So, fun fact. At the bottom of this drop, you'll hit 62 miles per hour. So right here, this is the launch 2 entrance gate. You guys can get as close to it as you want. You guys can get a unique perspective of the launch that not everyone gets to see on a daily basis. So, does anyone want to take a guess as to why all of our launches are at an upwards angle?
In case it rolled back so it can go down to the drive tire so it can stop.
Yep, exactly.
Because that's where your evac platform is.
Yep.
There, right?
So now if it was to roll back, or let's say it was to stop mid-launch, what's going to happen is it will slow down, come to a brief stop, and then it'll start to slowly roll backwards. So now it's going to use gravity to go all the way down to that tan platform you see down there, which is where A, we can get the guest off, or B, relaunch it. Alright, so a lot of the guests will ask us, it's like, how do you relaunch it from down here because it's already coming in at a high rate of speed? Well, that's because these stators here are only running in at 60% of their capacity when it's in auto mode. Alright, so when they relaunch it, now they're going to be running at 100% of their capacity, which will get the train up the tower. Alright.
Was like it decided there was going to be 3 launches before that, or is that the reason that like it comes into that because you don't want to running it that way?
So the ride was designed to always have 3 launches,
Okay.
yeah, because it's just how long the track is. the end of every night, maintenance is going to pull all of the trains in here, and they're going to be inspected, repaired, and then put back online in the next. So we have 5 trains here at Chicago. We'll ever have 4 available at a time, with the 5th one being down for annual maintenance, which is this train that you're seeing right here. So, Intamin is our manufacturer. They say that at 55,000 cycles, the train must be taken offline, taken completely apart, inspected, repainted, and then put back together. All right, and this allows them to look at parts of the train that they can't see on a daily visual inspection, which will be the inside of the magnets, the pins that connect the cars together. All right. So this train right here is starting to be put back together. So you'll see that the front cars up at the front there, they're going to use that winch to put it back onto the track here. And then that's the train that we can add for today. They're doing, they do weekly things on it, like weekly adjustments. That train up here, train number 2, hit 55,000 cycles yesterday. So we can no longer use train 2 until they take that train apart and put it back together. All right, so we won't have 4 trains until they're done with this one. So that's back to your question about why we're not in dual some days. So some days it is staffing. A lot of the time it's going to be because of these annual trains. All right, so
you just have like 2 available right now?
we have 3.
Oh, you have 3.
Yeah, all right. We have 2 on today, and then this one is going through adjustment right now. So when they're done with that, if we wanted it, they can do it this way.
Would you all run dual station with only 3 trains?
No, we have to have 4.
Yeah, that makes sense. Exactly.
We have to have 4, and that's because technically dual station is better with 5. Because right now when it's cold outside, they adjust the dispatch interval. So when we're in dual station, the 4 train will take at least another minute to come back. So a lot of times we're waiting on that 4 train to come back before we're able to unload and load the guests. So
That happened to us like the other day.
yeah, when you're in station 1, you gotta wait for the second train to come back and park.
That's not fun.
Yeah. So all of our the seats are going to be locked with 2 hydraulic cylinders, and then a seatbelt as well. You only need the 1 cylinder to keep you in. These are these cylinders right here. You only need the 1 to keep you in. The second one is there as backup in case this one was to fail. And if both were to fail, you have the seatbelt in there to hold you in as well. So you have 3 different things to hold you in. In order for that harness to come up, all 3 would have to go at the exact same time, which is very rare. So it takes 24 volts of electricity to get those harnesses to come up and down. And they'll get that in the station. If you guys look, there's a silver plate on the track that'll, it's called the collector plate, that'll lift up into the track, into the train. To get the entire train is 24 volts. If we had to do an escort, we would use the battery pack over here. The battery pack would then deliver 1 car at a time, 24 volts to get that harness up.
So is that sort of like the air cylinder?
Yep. So these are the wheels. We have 3 different types of wheels. Our road and our uplift are going to be the same type of wheel. They're the ones that are going to be sitting on the side and underneath. I'm going to pass this around.
It's quite heavy.
Cool.
It's definitely
You're
not
good.
light.
I had a silly joke planned out. Wait, what's driving?
On that train that's on the other track over there, you'll see that one's underneath the cheetah head. So it's only supporting the weight of the cheetah head.
This one's it feels kind of the
Big
same.
wheel.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know the cost level that you use?
I had this in my house.
I
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I've never. That is not what I imagined that would feel like.
And then these are your road wheels. So, fun fact is all of these wheels are actually reusable. So the rim that you guys are seeing, that's aluminum. Outside is a polyurethane mixture. So what will happen is they'll do a inspection on the wheels every morning. They'll just measure the thickness of it, and if it gets too short, they'll take the wheel off and replace it. And then they'll send the wheels out to a company called Euromet, which that company will strip the outside off.
Oh, no, it's not too bad.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Is that so? The best if used after, is that like a chemical thing, like with how
It's
those?
because when they're still sending the wheels to us, they're still curing. It's still setting. So they'll do it when they're still coming in, they'll leave them on the shelf over there. And then after that date, then they'll be good to use on the trains.
Oh, there's like a crack open back there.
Yep. So these road wheels will last about 90 days in the summer.
That's not that long.
lot of wheels.
All right, so earlier I mentioned about the magnets. Alright, so right down the middle of this train here, that's where the magnet run is. That's where all 64 magnets are going to be. Each train has 64 magnets, which means that there's 8 per coach, 8 pairs per coach.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it takes over 600 pieces of hardware to keep those magnets in place. Those magnets are so strong that if they accidentally put them together, they'd probably have to buy a new pair.
Wow.
They wouldn't be able
So
to
you
get
have
them
to be
apart.
really careful putting it down because
Yeah.
they're so close together.
So what they'll do is they have a block of wood, one on top, one in the middle, and then one underneath. So put one magnet on this side, one magnet on this side, so they're never touching. And what they'll do is when they're ready to take them apart, they have a contraption over there. They'll bolt the back of the magnet, and then they'll pull them apart, so they can then service the inside of the magnet.
Interesting.
They also are so strong that if they put the magnets in backwards, it'll get stuck in launch too. They won't have enough momentum to get up the tower. So they always keep one side of the magnets, one side will always be green, and one side will just be normal. So that way when they're putting them back in, if they see that this side's green, there's still one green magnet on this side, this set is in backwards. So
Do they know the backwards thing on launch 2 from experience, or?
Yes, but they usually learn from experience. Do 6 hours, and then we have to do 6 hours. So, yeah. We'll stay until 2 in the morning.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And then 2 hours later, they'll come and do their inspections for the next day.
Oh,
Wow, I did not know that.
At least it's not super often.
Yeah, it's not super often, man. It's like every 6 months.
I mean, the good thing about like
Post reminder.
parks that have an off season, they can do that during the off season.
Yeah, but they can always have all the max
And then,
trains
yeah,
on.
they can always do it during the day. They don't have to do it at night.
Yeah.
365 days a year.
This is train number 3, so if you guys saw the bodies out there, that's the cheetah bodies that were sitting outside, that's belong to this train. So once it's done, they'll put the fiberglass bodies back on, and then it'll be good for test runs.
Right. It's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So the top of our lift 1.
So the story behind it is basically we found, a statue head. So we put the statue head on, and that's activating the curse. So the curse activates basically when you laid over the writing on the back of the snake statue, and throughout the entire ride. It's a fun little fact too. The little snakes on top of King Venomous' head, even though they're not pointing in that direction, they're north, east, south, and west. That's the names of them. I like that. And then you can see the little pulley system up there is the Busch Gardens logo up there. Fun little fact too.
Oh, it is. Is this already something the manufacturer had experience with, or is that like custom commission?
Yeah, no, there's other coasters like that
Okay.
around the world, just like
know
yeah,
that.
just labeled different.
I have not seen the way that I've never seen this actually go. The way that it does that like maneuver, that's really neat.
Yeah, so you can see the bar itself. So when the two cabins like meet in the middle, they're separated just enough to where they don't hit.
I didn't realize
because
it was
the track is actually belted.
So, how much power does it take to run the elevator every day?
The electricity, the power, see that? To go up, no, but to go down, probably yes.
This is probably something you were gonna say later. I don't want to jump ahead. How many trains do you guys run?
We can run with 5 trains on. It's built for 8, but the ride doesn't like having that many.
Yeah.
With all the electronic circuitry that goes into this ride, it's very finicky.
I believe it.
So 5 is probably the max we ever want to put in. So that way it runs smoothly. Activates the clutch, which turns the train backwards, activating the curse to go through the track backwards. And then behind you we have lift 2, which stands at 40 feet tall. Now we also have bus rails up there at the very top, which activates the clutch, which makes it into a free spin. So that would answer.
So it is very like the free spin. That's just like weight distribution.
Yeah, it all depends on where you sit. It's random. You can spin, or you can not spin. It just all depends on weight
So to turn it
distribution.
backwards, is there like a motor on it that has to turn it?
Yeah, there's a clutch right in the middle. Think of it like the teacups and like some of the other rides out there. There's that one center point right there. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a sight to be seen.
Alright, so welcome to our maintenance ground. You can see some of our trains that are going to be down for annual maintenance or that they're just working on. We have 4 trains on right now because our 5th train is being worked on currently at the moment. So, little insight, we have 3 ways of getting you off the train. We have the regular way, which is we have a battery pack which gives it 24 volts electricity to pop each lap bar that we hook up right underneath behind the cart, right there, that little knob. Now the old-fashioned way, which we miss and we love, was we have this butter knife, and it's hidden on the wall right over there. We'll see it on the way out. But the butter knife was it's simple. You literally just put it right in here, pull towards you, and it lifts up the lap bar. It made escorts so much quicker, so much easier, lighter. We weren't out of breath going up there to get you guys off the train if need be. But unfortunately, the mechanism that's in there for that procedure, Mark don't make the parts for it anymore.
That's important.
So, if worst case scenario, the battery pack is not working, we have another way. If you can see them on the back of this train, I'll move up so you guys can see. There's these little knobs behind the train. Now, that's our pneumatic way, which is a fancy word of air release.
Oh.
So basically, we have these fancy air pumps that you just station. If they're out of line just a little bit, those tires will just correct it as it's coming in. So our annual maintenance is like every 55,000 cycles. Our track is 2,165, so just shy of a mile, so equivalent to like every 55,000 miles. Yeah.
So what would happen, like, say, you know how it turns you to spinning back to forward? What would happen if that, like, didn't happen and it came like?
Well, it would air out, so it would never fully reach inside the station. It'll always stop right there at our transfer track. And if we're able to turn it, we hook up the battery pack. Where's it at?
It's on the other side right
The
there.
other side. Oh yeah, see that right there? It's the same type of knob right there, but right down there. We just hook it up to the battery pack right there, and we're able to spin the train that way.
Is there, like, if that can't work, is there like a manual way to turn it?
If the battery pack is good and it still won't turn, that means there's something wrong with the clutch. So it would have to be a modified escort. We'd have to get with management, and most likely mechanics will come out there and try to work on it and try to spin it. And then if not, then if it's in a safe area, like if it's straight on like this, we can get you off no problem. But if it's angled and it's going to be difficult to get the gas off, we can't touch it. Acknowledge it up there in panel, and the next train will stop right here, and the entire track is up on the forward to that side. So that's how we get the trains on and off. So if you move that way,
We went with, like, one time there was someone who built it, so they put us that one.
it all has like right there, shoot lasers all the way down to the other side and vice versa. So if anything falls into that, or the sign gets into the way of the beam sometimes, which happens a lot during the summer, it triggers it, stops the station. Like I was telling you guys down there, I mean, panel operator, the only thing they really have control of is the E-stop, ride stop, the station stop button, and just to acknowledge the ADA that they're requesting.
Interesting.
But as far as, you know, the electronic circuitry, you could literally check out each block and find out what's going on, what's happening where. So, oh yeah, and the one interesting one that I like to do is lift one, because you can see the cabins move and you can see the pin going in as well too.
You all have like, is there a widely agreed upon favorite position? Like everybody has their preference.
Honestly, it's between panel and rear unload.
Next rear unload.
Yeah, this is like the easiest position. You're just telling people to exit off to the right, well, to the left.
How would you like change the wait time to the ride?
The wait time, so we as soon as we go down there, check to see where the line's at. We know approximately where the end of the line's at. We can judge it off that. And there's a little panel right there below the iron gauzy magnet, and that's how we adjust the wait time.
Does that go directly into the app when you do it, or does that have to go through?
So they call every hour on the hour, and they call for wait times.
So those are updated hourly?
Yeah.
Then is there something that like controls the soundtrack for the ride?
Yes, so we have, you're all good, Chief. We have this panel right here, which if we go to show to control, has the Q AV, track audio, and the audio that goes through the gift shop.
And so like, say if the ride was broken, you would click that and you would like tell it where to go.
Say it again?
So like if the ride was broken, would you like
Oh,
use
yeah.
that to tell it where to go?
So we just go to paging, and so if there's a stranded coaster, say on the top of lift 1, we can just go to lift, unhighlight all these, and we can do a spiel down.
That's really nice. That's really convenient.
Yeah. Gift shop, okay. And depending on what spiel we need to play, we have a whole bunch of spiels over there for the right circumstance. And as you can see, he doesn't know which one's good. Mitchell's telling him row 2. Gray means that they're not good and secure. Green means they're good.
Do you all have like an intercom system to reach down there, or is it all
Also right there below the panel control.
Okay, you guys don't end up using that super often. It's usually.
We do when we need to like communicate with the guests. That's like here on station. We can do manual spills out on the track too. We just gotta highlight the track that they're on.
That's really interesting. That's funny. Good catch.
Yeah.
I definitely did notice that.
Basic, just like Cheetah Hunt, you know how Cheetah Hunt has the foot pedal, they check seats, foot pedal. Here we have the finger scanner. We just put our finger on the scanner after we check seats properly. Communicates with the panel. Once the panel sees that we're ready to go, they'll push down on 2 buttons and we'll dispatch them.
Do you ever find those things finicky, or like are they pretty?
They're pretty reliable, yeah. They never really an issue. I think Iron Gwazi also uses the same. So right here to the right, we have our maintenance bar where we keep the trains overnight. This is a transfer truck. You can see the gap in between this whole thing will move over, and they'll be able to load trains onto the track and move it back.
Sort of like jumping the track.
Anyways, these right here, you'll see them on top of the train. They're called bonnets. They just keep water and grease off of people as they ride. That train got fixed in like a week. We're still waiting on parts for this train right here. This is our newest train. This one to the left is our oldest train. This one hit 75,000 dispatches.
Wow.
Once a train hits 75,000, you got to take it off. You got to rebuild the whole thing. That one down there, that's just a taken apart train. I don't know what they're doing with that.
Maintenance does their thing.
Yeah. So technically we have enough to make 4, but
Can you run 3 at most? Or is
yes,
it, okay.
you can run 3,
When
but
was this train?
about 2 or 3 months ago,
Okay.
it was just put on. I think right after Hollow Screen.
So is that like a brand new train? Like
Yeah,
I didn't know they were so.
it's pretty quiet.
I would
too.
assume.
All you do, like
Yeah,
the,
like, would it
yeah,
be
the wheels
smoother?
and stuff, and it's a little smoother. Yeah, it's a little more quiet. Because like this one right here was so loud on its last 1,000. So like if we had to get people off of the lift or at block break, we don't have air pressure up there to unlock the seats. So we have a harness key that we put the harness key into this pin right here and flip it up. You can see where it connects, and it just releases all the harnesses.
Oh, okay.
In that row, not so we have to go row to much that it busts and it kind of has spider webs. It looks like spider webs kind of sticking out and stuff. We have to take the train off, put a new wheel on. That takes like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So it starts showing early signs,
Yeah.
visual signs that you'll know, okay, it's time to.
Yeah.